What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 routes that are unguardable in one-on-ones. So we're going to be talking about how you guys can beat physical DBs, some of the best double move routes, some of the best single move routes that you guys can do. These are some of the best routes you could use at camp, at practice, whatever, to be able to help you get separation when we are in one-on-one. So this first route is going to be something called a return route. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the route called a whip route or a zig or a pivot. There's a lot of different terminology for that specific route where you go up like 3 steps, you break to the slant, you put the brakes on, and then you whip back towards the sideline. So you essentially fake a slant and then go back to the out. You don't turn your back. You keep your hips and your shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. So a return route is honestly just the opposite of this. Some of you might have different terminology for it. I guarantee most of you have seen this before, but let's play this full speed and then we'll break it down. So it's essentially where we're trying to make this DB think we're running an out route, and then we return back to the inside. So this is very, very tough to stop, especially when you have like a reduced split in one-on-ones, because again, this DB, it's just tough for him to win on this type of route, and it's a quick developing double move. It's not like something that takes forever, right? So the key obviously is to make it look exactly like your out route. When you break to the out route, the most important thing on really any double move is you have to sell the out with 3 specific things. One, it's going to be speed. So as soon as you cut to that out route, you need to make sure that you are bursting down that angle. Thayer Thomas here he only takes 1 step to the out route, but there's a ton of speed there, and we'll play at full speed one more time so you guys can see that. It's not like it's like a change in speed. It's not like he's slowing down. Like there's a burst to the out route, and that's the first thing that's going to get that DB to overcommit. Now, on a return route, you could take more steps than that sometimes if it's a little bit longer developing. You could go 1 step, take a 2nd step, then on the 3rd step right here, you break. That's like more like a traditional whip route. You take 3 steps to the slant. So you could also run the return route like that, or you could do it right away off the 1st step like he does right here. It's either or. It's still a great route no matter what. It's just a little bit longer timing. So speed is very important. 2 is going to be stride. So like, honestly, like even though he's only taking 1 step out of this break, like he gains a lot of ground with that 1st step out of the break. He's actually running. That's another thing that's going to get this DB to crash. Because remember, guys, these routes are unguardable only if we make them unguardable. If we run a crappy route, for lack of a better word, we're still going to get locked up no matter what route we decide to choose. So it's got to come down to speed. You got to have good stride length, aka you're gaining ground, and your hips and your shoulders, aka your body language, have to commit to this out route. Because in theory, like a DB who's disciplined is going to be watching our hips. So my hips got to commit to the out route. My hips, my shoulders, my head, everything needs to fully face towards that sideline to get that guy to crash. Now, what's important is that we don't waste a lot of time at this break point. So if he's breaking on his inside foot, whether it's the 1st step or whether it's the 3rd step, that is the step where you are going to be dropping your hips. So you have to sit down like in a chair. I tell my receivers, pretend like you're playing musical chairs. It's like a child game. I'm sure you guys have all seen that before, where the music stops. What do? You sit down, and you sit down as quickly as you can. So you sit to that 90-degree angle. You're trying to bring your chin to your knee as violently as possible. So you drop on that inside foot, but your outside foot is the foot that gets you out of the break. You drop to slow down, but you got to hook that outside foot around where your toes are facing the line of scrimmage. So now I can push off of that step, and then there you go. You got separation. So we get separation by selling it with those 3 aspects, and we keep it by that snap and hook step that we just showcased there. So one of the most unguardable routes there are, you guys, is this return route, especially when we are in one-on-ones. Now, this next route we're going to be discussing here is something called a jerk route. So this would be considered, I guess you could consider it a triple move. Now, I'm not a big triple move guy in one-on-ones, but it's really not a triple move. It's not something that takes forever. It's not something where your coach is going to get pissed off at you because the route takes too long. It is a very quick developing triple move. But again, one of the best, I honestly think this is, if you run this correctly, I don't think there's a single DB who could guard this in a one-on-one man coverage setting. Now, before we break this down, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a quarterback and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 14 more cities across the entire U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So guys, go to that very first link in the description below. If you're local to one of these cities we have on the screen here, or you would like to sign up and travel out, we have people travel from all over the country to every single one of these camps. We really appreciate all of the support. Our next 3 camps, or actually 4 camps, in Orlando, Phoenix, Charlotte, and Austin, Texas. All 4 of those are completely sold out, you guys, but then we'll be heading out to Las Vegas, Seattle, Chicago, Newark, Birmingham, Houston, Boston, Columbus, Boise, and Los Angeles. So guys, we limit spots for these camps so each athlete could get individual attention and individual coaching. We don't like having as many people as possible out to these. We keep it very, very exclusive. So guys, that's why they sell out very quick. So make sure you take advantage of our spots in our Las Vegas camp all the way to Los Angeles. We have available spots, but those will fill up very, very quickly. So again, guys, very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season training camps. Let's get back to this video. So a jerk route, you guys, is essentially we're faking that whip route that we do, right? So a whip route's a double move. You break to a slant, you put the brakes on, then you whip back out to the sideline. That's two specific moves. A jerk route is where you break to the slant, fake like you're whipping to the sideline, then you go back to the inside. So essentially a triple move, but it's not like where you're running an out, up, come back, that type of triple move. It's quick. It's not going to take a ton of time. That's why I like this in one-on-ones. It's very, very, very tough to stop. So this receiver comes off the ball here, breaks to the slant, breaks on, gives a jab to the outside, and then you see the amount of separation that he's able to get. DB pretty much quits on this rep, right? So let's break it down. Most important thing is you just got to make it look exactly like the whip. Could you do this on a return route where you fake back to the inside? Absolutely. I think that's a great route that any receiver could run. Really, you could use it in one-on-ones, but I just wanted to show this because, again, this jerk route's more realistic to the whip that a lot of people love to run. A lot of people love to run whips in one-on-ones. I'm not the biggest fan of it sometimes, especially if you're getting like press. I think the return route's a better option just because DBs are like less expecting of it, if you will. But I think this jerk route's a great one if the DB is especially expecting a whip, or maybe a lot of other receivers have been running whips, etc. So when he breaks to the slant, obviously, you see how he drops on that inside foot. Very, very similar to that return route, right? So he drops on this inside foot, aka his left foot. His right foot hooks around. He's trying to get his hips and his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. We want to make it look exactly like the whip route. And then he just puts one quick jab to the outside, maybe a little hip fake, little shoulder fake to get that DB to feel like it's a whip. And then we got him over the middle. So that's one of the best routes to use in one-on-ones, you guys. It's called a jerk route. So that's something that you could tell your quarterbacks when you're giving them a route and explain to them how it actually works. So now let's talk about one of the best things you could do versus a physical DB. So if you're facing a physical DB who likes to get hands off the ball, like first and foremost, how can we tell that a DB is going to be physical? Generally, it's based off of like his pre-snap alignment or how he's been playing previously, you know, in a game. Because I'm always going to try to replicate the stuff that we talk about to an actual live game, 11 on 11, because that's what matters, right? We can talk about one-on-ones, we can talk about 7-on-7 all we want, but like the main show is 11 on 11. But one-on-ones is a great way to stand out to coaches, especially at a camp, especially you're at practice. You show you can separate. So like if a DB's been jamming physical rep after rep, okay, I'm probably anticipating this guy's going to get hands and get physical with me. Again, if you could tell by his stance, see how this DB kind of has this like slight lean forward, the weight is on like his toes. That looks like he's going to jam and get physical. So really, honestly, anything quick could work versus a physical DB. A quick post, a quick fade, a quick corner, a quick slant, which is what this receiver runs, but I want you to pay attention to the release that he uses, and that is something called the step back release. So a step back release, a lot of people know what it is. A lot of people use it incorrectly. So a step back release is just a quick little step back, and then you get up into your route. That is the key, that you get up into your route fast. So many wide receivers, you guys, they dance, and that's what kills them, right? So you see how this guy's wanting to be physical. He lunges at him off the line of scrimmage, trying to get hands, trying to pop him. And this receiver, he just does a quick step back with his front foot, creates some space between himself and the DB. Okay, now he can operate. Now he can work a move. Now he can work a crossover. You know, now he can work whatever he wants, close the space with the DB because we created that space with that step back release. But a lot of guys, fellas, they'll step back and then they spend a ton of time behind the line of scrimmage. That's exactly what the DB wants. You have to remember his goal with jamming in the first place. His goal with getting hands on you is to disrupt timing with the quarterback. So if I step back and I do all these fancy moves, then I'm disrupting time with the quarterback. He did his job even without even having to get hands on me. So we got to step back, then go get up into my route, work a quick release, and then go. So a step back release, you guys, is great to use versus a physical DB. I think you could use that on really any single move route, and I think that would be great to get you separation in a one-on-one setting.